Hey guys, welcome to another ride in the Struggle Bus, where every wheel is an empty triangle. Today's bus ride is a really exciting one. So we are playing against an 8K on OGS, but halfway through the game, he actually told us that he's closer to 5 or 6K. With that said, he is a hyper-aggressive player, so the game gets chaotic very quickly. And because he doesn't follow the basic rules, the fight very quickly turns problematic for him. As where if he had just followed the rules for just a couple of moves at the beginning there, when the fight really starts going, he would have been in a really good position to come out ahead. As per always, I would like to thank my opponent for playing with us today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I'd like to thank my patrons for supporting these videos. So let's get to this very violent game. All right, let's go. Okay, so we are playing against an 8K on OGS, which is a little stronger than we are used to, but that is fine. We are still going to follow our basic rules, going after the corners, then the sides, then the center, and then all of the other rules that we are used to. So he's approaching, we're just gonna back off, keep it nice and simple. And here we're gonna finish this. You can Tanuki from here, but we'll just finish this up. Keep it simple. He'll extend back. And we can extend off this, but this side's now a little small because of, his third line stones here. So we're going to go approach, I think we'll go approach his top right corner. And we'll approach on the fourth line. And we'll see what he does with this. And he's going to go with a pincer. So this is going to be a fun game. We will just do the variation. We will attach to his stone here, and we'll see what way he goes with it. So he's hunting. We're just going to extend here. This is one of the variations. All the variations, when you get pincered, they're typically going to be a little more complicated than our basic Josekis, and that's fine. So here we're just going to play this knight's move here. Go pressure this stone, so he's choosing to get strength up here, and so we'll run out in the direction of his weaker stone. And it looks like he is going to cut us. So this is going to be a pretty dynamic game, I think. So he is not cutting us. So this is a little strange. Normally, if you're going to make this push, you want to make this cut directly. So we're going to connect here. We do have these two cuts, but now if he cuts this, we'll get the Atari and we'll be able to push through. So we're going to connect right here, and now he needs to protect this. We could have potentially gotten in trouble backing it up a little bit if he had decided to cut here. We would likely push and then connect, and this, as you can see, this is going to become a complicated fight. And like I said, the pincer variations tends to be fairly complicated. So he now plays here, and so we have to look at, do we need to protect this cut? If he cuts here, we get to Atari and then go here and then push, but this gets a little complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first just Atari this stone. So we need to be mindful of this cut, but we're also going to go play here, and we're doing this just to attempts to get a base here. This is only going to be one eye for us, but if he doesn't respond to this, then we get to live immediately. So he does go and protect that. So now we will need to protect this cut. And I'm trying to see if there's a way that we can do it with good shape, because if we push here, he's going to push and we get an empty triangle, but his push is also an empty triangle. So you want to know what? We will share terrible shape together if that's what he wants. And so he plays here, and we don't actually care about this stone, because the issue is if we protect this, he can jump out and get pretty easy life over here. And this is the more interesting area of the board, and we don't need to save the stone. Remember, we've got our rule: don't save all stones, especially since him capturing this comes in gote. So if we play a move like this to keep him low and go in the direction that we care about, if he does actually spend a move to capture this stone, we'll then get a second move in a row, and that'll be pretty tough for him. So he's going a little a little ballistic on us. So he's just cutting immediately. We're obviously going to push back here. This isn't going to work for him though, because we already have a ladder, and we've got the ladder goes straight to our stones. So if he cuts us, this stone dies, and if he does anything else, we're going to connect. So this was a big overplay. And unfortunately for him, this is a situation. This is the only move you can play. There's nothing else you can do here. So now we get to stay ahead of him on the third line. So we're just going to do this little shoulder hit and keep him on the second line. And so now he does go and get this stone. So now I get to point out, you know, one of the great things of sacrificing stones like this is we got this really great move, right? We got Q11 by not saving this stone. And now that he's capturing it, we get to play this, which forces him to capture. And now we get yet another move. And we can get a move anywhere we want on this board. And that's a really strong thing. In this case, we can look at approaching his corner. We can look at getting this stone, or we can look at enclosing this corner. Or, and hear me out on this, maybe attack that group right there. No, you don't feel like doing that? You're just going to ignore that for a long while? I guess that's fine too. Any of those are fine options. We can also look at this, because this threatens to potentially kill. And so there's lots of options here. For now, though, I think approaching this stone is appropriate. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so this looks to develop the bottom side, which is tough to develop with the F3 stone. So we're just going to attach to his stone here, and then we're going to extend. And he's looking to split, and so we can look at P3, right, because he didn't play P2. So that is an option. We can also look at S2, but I believe P3 is the punishment for ignoring this. So that is where we are going to play. And this is a little tricky, but you know, he's playing very aggressively, and this is, you know, it's always tricky when players play like this, right? Because it's not necessarily fair for me to say you can just play here, because I know what the punishments are, and it's not easy to know all of them, right? So in this case, we're just going to connect through, but you can see how much trouble Black's going to get in here. Now he's kind of got three separated groups that he's going to have to manage. We do have two cuts, right? If he pushes here, we've got two cuts that we potentially have to worry about. But then he has to start worrying about the fact that he's going to be running out of liberties. So he may have to play something like S3 to try to get life, or to you know, O2 to try to connect out, and it's just going to be a tough situation for him all around. So here, I think I just actually want to take the outside and make it difficult for this stone, make it difficult for this stone, and go and get the center. We can play this at a later point. So I'm going to play the Hane here to try to get the center. Let him take the corner, and see what we can get here. And it's really important when we play against aggressive players like this to just stay calm. And as long as you play solid, you should be in a pretty good spot. So we're going to take this Hane, because again, we don't want him to be able to easily connect up. We don't want him to be able to get this Atari easily. So we're going to play this Hane to keep him separated. He's also not yet alive in the corner. Okay, so he does push out here, and we can look at taking this Hane, and we have to read if the ladder works, right? Because if he plays here, then we've got a ladder, and so we need to see if it goes this way, and then you just draw that 45-degree line, and it's going up to nowhere. So we are able to play this. And by we are able to play that, I mean we are not able to play that because he has an Atari right here. And so this doesn't work. So this was a whoopsie. This was a whoopsie, guys. So in this case, what I'm going to do is Atari this stone, let him capture, and then we can Atari here and connect. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to capture this stone, take the side that we wanted. He'll capture. We'll get the Atari here. And then we have to look at which side we want to connect to. If we connect here, we lose this stone, but then we get Sente. And if we connect here, he gets this Atari, and then things look a little tricky for us. So I think we're going to connect here and still keep his stone separated. But you know, we're allowed to make mistakes too. And so yeah, the second I played this stone, I realized what had happened there, and that's okay. This is still a pretty small corner for black, and we're developing a very healthy left side here and some great center influence. So he does connect, and we're going to take this connection. So now he jumps in over here, and we can look at solidifying our corner. We can look at pincering this stone. We can look at jumping out and getting ahead of the stone. I think any of those are fine. In this case, I think I want to take away his base, and so I will just pincer him on this side. As he jumps out, we'll be able to build up the center, and then we'll eventually need to come back and solidify this group, because once it gets surrounded, we start getting in trouble if we don't play b3. So I think we can jump out one more time, but then as he jumps out, I think we'll need to take b3 after this. But this is going to develop a pretty large potential in the center. Okay, so he does decide to jump out again, which makes sense. And I think we're going to play this because as you get surrounded, there's a lot of Aji if they play b3. So we're just going to play it ourselves, get this group so that it can't be attacked, so that we don't have to worry about attacks on it later in the game if another big fight breaks out. And I'm not saying that another fight's going to break out, but the way this game's going, I think it's very possible that another fight's going to break out. So we want to make sure that we keep our groups nice and alive and healthy. Okay, so now it looks like he's going to try to come out with these stones. And so now we've got a target to attack, and we need to figure out where we want our profit to be. And we don't even need to attack these right now. I think we can actually just leave them here. This group is fine, this group is fine, this group is fine, and we don't have a lot of stones on this side of the board. Or, and hear me out on this, maybe attack that group right there. And he's got this kind of weak group just lingering there as well. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to pressure this and try to develop the top and the left a little. So we're going to play here and see what he wants to do with this group. Okay, so he's going to run out, and that is fine. So let's go strengthen our weakest stone, which is this one, and we will just take our knight's move here. We still have this corner and this side, pretty wide open. We don't want to get sucked too much into this fighting when there's still a big area on the board. And this is a situation where the reason I tanuki'd here is I don't know the best way to attack these stones yet. And so either he's going to spend another move to strengthen these, and then we get to tanuki again, or we'll figure out later how to attack them and the weakness is still there. And so now this group is running out this way. And so if we start playing stones in between these two, then maybe the attack on this becomes a little easier. So maybe we can do something like this to get ahead of this group, right? This group is running out, and as it runs, we'll be able to get stones here. And as we do that, the attack on this group will become much easier to figure out. So we will extend here to his shoulder hit. You can kind of treat that as an attachment, and get strength here. Get strength by extending. Okay, so he's making some good shape. We're not worried about this cut, because if he cuts, we Atari and get him. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this move to stop him from being able to get out so easily. So he's going to have to get this way again. As he's doing this, we're going to be getting these stones in Sente, and then the attack on these two stones will be a lot easier for us. If we had attacked these directly, we may have failed, right? Because again, I said I didn't know the best way to attack them, where our profit was going to be. But now what's happening is instead we're attacking this group, and we can see where our profit is. Our profit is going to be this area. So this is a cut that I'm absolutely going to respect, and I'm just going to connect directly. This is the strongest attachment. In a situation like this, you don't want to give your opponent any more cutting points than you can. If you can stay solid, that's the best approach here. And so now these three stones are getting a little potentially weak. So I'm just going to play here to get some strength here, get some shape, see if we can get something on the top. Okay, so he continues to run this way, and it's pretty clear. I don't know exactly where we need to play, but it's definitely going to be in this area, right? We still have this group that is kind of running, and we've got those stones that we want to keep disconnected. And so I think we're going to play somewhere around here. We can even just look at something as simple as this. And I think this is what we're going to play. We just, again, want to make sure that we keep this disconnected and see what we can get here. And just like any other time we attack, our goal isn't to kill. And I say this a lot, and I want to clarify. I don't mean in these videos I don't want to kill my opponent because I feel bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we collectively. Our goal should not be to kill stones when we're attacking them. We're just looking for profit. In this case, we were attacking this group, and our profit was up top, and potentially getting to kill these stones. And so now we're going to look at what we can do to keep, again, to keep him separated. So what we're going to do is we're going to play here. This stone can get cut off, right? If he plays here, this stone's going to get cut. That's fine. We can sacrifice that stone. Remember, we don't need to save every stone. So if killing these stones means he gets that, that's fine by me, right? That is a stone that we are willing to give up. This is a situation where if he cuts and we try to save everything, then all of a sudden he connects up, and then maybe our group up top here dies. So you got to be real careful about that. So here we've got lots of options, and I think the strongest is we're going to do this bump, and then if he comes back, we're going to cut off his stone here. We've got a lot of strength. We've got a lot of strength here. So okay, that is an interesting move. All we're going to do is connect here. We're just going to keep this real simple. I'm not sure where he's going to go. We can probably pretty easily get two eyes here because of our turn at R7. So yeah, so we can't let him get this Atari. Though actually the Atari probably doesn't matter too much. Maybe we just extend here. I think this is cleaner. So this is the way I'm going to go. Just get a nice bamboo joint. It threatens a cut here. It threatens a cut here. So this is pretty tricky fighting stuff here. So now we need to be mindful that this stone can connect up here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to block this. And this Atari we're not concerned with, because if he Ataris, we can Atari and then connect up to our newly played S10 stone. And so that is what we're going to do. We're going to play here. And then we can play here. And we need to make sure that we don't fall prey to the fact that bamboo joints are notorious for liberty shortages. If he plays here and we connect, we lose a liberty, but we have this. So we need to be mindful of that. We can also just look at this cut directly. If we play this and then give up that stone, that seems like a pretty fair trade. So I might look at that. If we play here and he Ataris and connects, we get to cut on either side. So that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to give up this stone to get this cut. All we're going to do is connect here. He gets the Atari, and then we'll be able to capture here. And now we have 2 eyes, and he has 2 cuts that he needs to protect. And sorry for how complicated this game turned into. This very quickly became not so much basics, but more of lots of tactics and lots of fighting and lots of attacking. But certainly, obviously, a very exciting part of the game of Go. So, what are we going to do here? I think we're going to start with this Atari. And then we can look at this, which threatens to kill this group. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play here, which threatens to kill this if he lets us descend here. He needs to play this Hane. But now we get to kill these stones. And remember, all along I said I was willing to give up this stone if it meant killing. Originally it was these 2, but this is still a great gain for us. And he needs to be a little careful here because he's only got 1 eye, and this stone gives us a lot of power here. If we play T12, he might be dead. I don't think so. I think he can respond with T13, and when we extend, he can play this. We don't want him to come in. We're not going to play this because it's bad shape, right? Makes this empty triangle, gives us this cut there. So we're going to extend once, so that when he pushes again, we don't have the empty triangle, and we have a bamboo joint here. And shape is that important. I'm willing to give up the handful of points to have better shape here. And so now he comes back to this side. And this is a big area. He has gotten a lot of strength here now. So we can consider even pincering this to try to get something over here. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to do this kind of like a kick, right? This is like if he played C15 and then we kicked him and he extended, because I expect he's going to descend now. But these 2 stones are real far away from this stone here, and with these being 3rd line stones, we can do something like a shoulder hit. But again, this is actually going to be pretty tricky because he has a lot of strength here. This is going to be a tough area to invade. Unfortunately, though, now it is no longer going to be a tough area to invade. This was the wrong direction because the side was still open. This is too central of a move, and so now we can just easily slide in and very heavily reduce this area. I think this would have been much tougher if he came in here. So this is interesting. He's looking to reduce this, but that is fine. We will just block this. This was a larger territory than our top was, and so I'm more than willing to do some mutual destruction with him. Me destroying this territory as he destroys the top. You can look at this, and when we went back a few turns, this territory was 3 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this is 21 points, but his is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 30 points, right? So it's bigger. Okay, so he is doing that, and that is okay. We will play here. He'll get to cut this stone off as we secure this, but now we're going to be able to really tear this apart. I probably will play E16 just to block him from getting in. That was a well-timed move, and we will absolutely respond to that. So he needs to be a little careful here. So which way do we want to Atari? This is actually a pretty tricky one. But I think we can just Atari this way. And the reason is, this is the reading I did. If we play here, he gets this Atari, but if he comes in, we get this Atari on this stone, and then we can, if he saves this, then we capture those. So let's see what way he ends up going with this. And yes, that was obviously a bit of reading, but again, this is a fairly complicated game at this point. So now we have to look at this cut, and if he cuts there, we get to Atari, and he comes over, and Atari's this stone as well. So we can look at just extending, we can look at just capturing, we can look at protecting the cut directly. So I'm just going to protect the cut directly. We already read this out. Remember, guys, we're going to descend. And if he connects, we connect under. If he descends, we Atari. He needs to be careful of this cut. It's not huge right now. Okay, we will capture the stone. And now that this group's alive, I'm not even sure if we need to defend this, if we just want to come in here, but I probably will. I'm going to block that. That's a pretty easy decision. And then he's playing there. So we're going to descend because we need to block that. So we're going to descend here. And then we are going to continue pushing along here. We can consider jumping. We just have to be aware of this cut into some liberty shortages there, but we will jump. I expect that he's going to push to at least short our liberties there, which he does. We'll connect. Once we lose this outside liberty, we'll have to be very mindful of this cut. So we will keep on going. And so here we can push once for free and not lose any liberties. We've got 3 liberties here when we play here, and he caps, we still have 3 liberties. And when we play here and he does this, we'll have 2, but then we threaten to get this. So I think we can play here, and if he blocks us, we get to capture this. And here, I'm not sure that this works because we capture. He needed to take this liberty away first, but if he had taken that liberty away, we would have connected. But we've got 3 liberties, and he's only got 2 here, and he can't get any more liberties here. So he does that, and we can just capture that stone. And he Ataris, we will absolutely capture this. So now we've got a multitude of eyes here, and it comes in pseudo Sente, right? Because he doesn't want us to get this Atari into this Atari, so he's probably going to connect here. We can then look at pushing in here, and obviously L17 is a very large move. Okay, so he's pushing through. We will block. Okay, so that looks like it's dangerous, right? Because he's got a double Atari here, but we don't care about that stone. That stone's pretty small. So I think it's time for. Will this come in Sente if we play here and he attaches and we do this? I think this is larger, so I'm going to play this. This is also a large move. This was probably larger than up top, so that was a pretty good find. And so we will extend here. Let's see, does this cut work? If we cut, he Ataris, we connect. It gets a little dicey on us. So we are just going to play here and get us our 2 eyes. Sacrifice this stone. So this was a pretty big capture for him, but we've got a lot on this board. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. We want to make sure that this cut isn't an issue, and so I'm going to play this diagonal. And that way, if he cuts, we can drive him up, and so we will play here. And we still have some more interesting moves in this game before we get to end game. So I'm going to play here, And this move's really big, but another move that's really big is K10. K10's huge. And the reason for that is because if he Hanes, we can double Hane, and there's shenanigans with kind of a Hane at the head of 3. So here, if he Ataris, yeah, we need to just protect this, and so we will protect this cut. That's unfortunately not Sente. So we are going to take our push here. And we're going to Hane. And I did a little bit of reading to see that this worked. This isn't something that I expect you guys to see. Again, this is a complicated game, but we're going to show him why this didn't work, because now we get to Atari here. And then if he extends, we get to Atari here and capture these 3 stones. And that is likely the nail in the coffin here. So at this point, I think we will get to the end of the game. So I will see you guys there. Okay, so we actually didn't make it too much farther, as he tried to do some stuff in here, and we ended up just getting all of the center, and he ended up resigning. But yeah, that's kind of what happens with the aggressive play style, right? They leave a lot of weaknesses behind. But anyway, let's take a look at this review and see what our friend could have done differently to make this game go more in his favor. Okay, so let's take a look at this one, because it started off, it got crazy pretty quickly. All this is perfectly normal, and then we approached here, and even the pincer, perfectly normal. Again, pretty much all the variations that you're going to see in pincers are more complicated than the non-pincer variations. And this one, you can, as white, you can look at either of these two. They both do different things. This is the more aggressive play. And then he pushed here, and I think this is the wrong direction for him. I know he wants to play aggressively. But he can still play aggressively with this pincer and back off first and get some strength before he goes and cuts here. This isn't an easy situation for white, as it is, right? White's going to now come out this way, which is fine. But yeah, this is a little too aggressive. If you're going to push, I think you need to cut immediately. That's often the case in a lot of these situations where you're threatening to cut. If there's a cut there and you're going to go threaten and you're going to push into it, you should cut. Otherwise, leave the cut there. Let your opponent fix it. And so now he's obviously looking to fight, and so we just need to stay solid and connected. Obviously, we can't let him get that cut, and so we fixed that, and now he is forced to fix here, right? And so now he's kind of paying for his aggressiveness already. We're just playing solid, and all the weaknesses that are there, now he needs to fix. Just a slight difference. This is a better shaped move, but this is important stuff if you're going to be playing very aggressively, right? I need to be able to teach the aggressive players as well, because you can be aggressive, but you need to have good shape. The reason this move is important, and I'll bring up in a few moves or so. But anyway, so he plays here, and we get this Atari, and then we get this, and then we get this, and black is compelled to answer. Because if he does something like this, now all of a sudden, white's alive in the corner, and this is just too easy for white. Now black has these 3 stones, and so black needs to fix this when we play here, right? He needs to fix this. But what happens if instead, if this stone was right here, black doesn't need to answer this move? So now all of a sudden, white doesn't get S18 and Sente to get strength, and now black can continue his march on, and he can get this move first. That's a huge difference. So then white can't play S18 because of this. And so that's why back here I said that black shouldn't play here. He should play here instead, because it makes S18 no longer be Sente. Anyway, so he answers, we fix our cut, and now he makes his next mistake. And this is kind of breaking the rule of this is too early of a second line move. Early in the game, a lot of the struggle bus basic rules really point to that at the beginning of the game, we want 3rd and 4th line stones. Sometimes you need 2nd line stones. You'll notice there are a lot of 2nd line stones moving second line stones on this board. We've got b4. We've got the 3 up here. Those, it's okay. You know, lots of Josekis have them. Second line stones, their intent is to get groups alive, right? But we really only want to play them if you need to live. So in this situation, this isn't a great move for black. He wants to be focusing on third and fourth line moves still. And he wants to move in a better direction. So this move is huge for black. This is a very important move. He can jump out a little further if he wants. And something over here. Something over here is much better than this because this actually isn't Sente. And I'm sure he's used to his opponents answering this, and now he can do this. But right here, we don't need this stone, because again, we play here. Imagine if black had immediately taken this, right? If he had immediately taken this, now all of a sudden he's dead. So that's why, like, we really don't care about these single stones. You can give them up. The difference between white getting this and black getting this is just so game breaking, right? And so this is really where things started to fall apart for him. And then he just got way too aggressive with this. And I think, you know, if he was going to cut, he needs to cut here. And, you know, black's not gonna be able to get out of this, right? This doesn't work for black. But this, the problem with this is, I mean, the main problem is it doesn't work. But worse than that, your opponent only has one answer. This is the only move that white can play, right? And so there's really no way to trick your opponent because the only move they have is the answer, and we have this ladder, right? So obviously he can't do this, but it hurts. I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to play here? This is what I expected, but then we just get to keep him low for a while, and this all really hurts for black. This really hurts for black. So anyway, so then we do this, and he does eventually come here, and then he eventually kills this. But again, now we get our next free move, and you know, us getting 2 Tanukis, right? We got this move here, and now we're going to get to Tanuki again, all at the cost of just giving up that 1 stone, right? And so that's why it's so important to not save all of your stones. And so here we went here, and there were lots of options for what we could have done. Probably the top left was larger, but I wanted to help build off of this, and so that is what I did. So then we do this variation, which is fine, but now he goes a little aggressive here. Same thing. Typically we are used to seeing this for the same exact reason as the top, because now if white plays here, this is no longer Sente. If black plays something like this over here, now we get this to live whenever we want. But here, this is on the wrong side, and now black's going to suffer here. And this is, you know, this is a little unfair because, like I said, you know, this is a situation where I'm going to know the answers, right? And so I'm not saying, you know, look how easy it is. All you need to do is play here. But in this situation, I know that this is the move to get him here. So yeah, so here he's just being too aggressive, and that's fine. That's his play style. But we need to be solid when we are that aggressive. But this is needed, and normally we'd extend to here. But with these stones, I'm not even actually sure where I would have played here. I probably just would have played here, which is soft. It's a slack move, but it's fine enough. But he just continued the fight, and then let us turn on the outside, and now we're just trading the corner for the outside. And then we play this. And honestly, I don't even know if this is a mistake, because giving up these stones was fine to get the outside, right? Black now has this tiny corner. And it's worth noting, when we started all of this, that black is the one who had a stone on this corner. So he should get a good result from this because he already had a stone here. But at the end of all of this, I would say that white has a better position locally in this corner than black does. And this jump seems fine. It seems like a fine place to play, but this is much bigger up here. I think as black, I'm probably just approaching this stone here. It's tough to build off of a third line stone, but I think this is probably where I'm going, or, you know, maybe help this very weak group here and go and get a base. Both of us kind of ignored this for a while. We got sucked into the fight over here. I explained what was going on here, and this is, yeah, he just creates another weak stone, and now we get to chase that while going here. And this, I don't like this, right? This, this is a perfect example of don't save every stone. There's no reason to save this stone, right? If he wanted to play this with the intent of sacrificing that stone, I can get behind that. But if that's the case, I would want to play something like this to really just say, yep, you can have that stone. You're not gonna get this whole area. But this just risks losing everything. So here he's just creating too many weak groups. And so at this point, the drawing is already on the wall. I know it's tough to see that here. But when we look at this, he's got a weak group here. He's got a weak group here. He's got this stone. This group's strong enough. So I don't think there's a concern there. But white doesn't have any weak groups on this board, and black has 3. And it's not going to work out well because you're going to be able to attack one and turn and attack the others, as you guys saw in the game. So so this is where I will stop the review for this one. But anyway, thanks for joining us on this very aggressive bus ride today. And thank you guys for coming out for another ride in Struggle Bus where every wheel's an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys.